Welcome yogis, Darren here. In this video I want to talk about a book that I believe every yogi should read if you're serious about yoga. It is the book that when I first started doing yoga and I really had these amazing revelations within myself as a result of my yoga, and I approached my yoga teacher. I said, what should I read? How can I best understand what's happening? She immediately showed me this book. She pulled it right off her shelf and she said, read this book. It's Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. And that is the subject of our video today. Before we dive into the book, if you enjoy this content, please like, subscribe, and share. It helps me out a lot, and it will help you be alerted whenever I release a new video. So Paramahansa Yogananda is an important figure in modern yoga. Whether you consider him your guru or teacher or not, or whether or not you ever read this book, he's a very important figure. He was one of those initial gurus that came to the United States from India. And this was at a time when no one knew what yoga was. Today, there's a yoga studio on every corner. My son does yoga in his grade school. So yoga is a common thing. Most people know about it. They at least know a little bit about the philosophy. They know words like karma. But at the time Yogananda showed up on the shores of Boston Harbor, people just didn't know much about yoga, and it was very bizarre and weird, but he electrified his audiences and helped kick off the yoga revolution here in the West. This book is part telling that story about what happened when he got off that boat and the people he met here in the West. But that's the second half of the book, and it's absolutely fascinating if you're really excited about yoga, especially as it exists here in the West today. But the first part of the book is his story of living in India, growing up, and having this deep calling to be a spiritual seeker, to go to the Himalayas, to find his guru, to practice yoga and meditation, to be a devout monk. His father had different plans for him. His father was a very spiritual man, but also saw deep value in the things of this world and really pressured and insisted on him attending university and getting a good education. What's fascinating is that both things were really important to Yogananda's teaching. He could not have done the things he did here in the West had he not gotten that really solid education. But at the same time, his deep study and passion for yoga, philosophy, and practice really made him an exceptional teacher as well. So the first part of the book is all about India. It's a crash course in what yoga looked like in India just before it came to the United States and other Western countries. And the second part is how that evolved over time. Now, there are some things about this book that you may find challenging, especially in the first part of the book. It is one miracle after another. And I'm not talking, oh wow, what a coincidence, that must be a miracle, but might have an explanation. We're talking raising people from the dead, people appearing in two places at once, all sorts of things that are seemingly impossible. Now, to a modern Western thinker, these types of stories can seem like hogwash. Now, some people, to be fair, believe them to be historically true and accurate, and other people question their validity, and that's putting it nicely. What I will say is that if you believe these stories to be true and you find inspiration and wisdom in them, great. And if you find them to be a little far-fetched, there is still wisdom and inspiration to be found. The great author and teacher Joseph Campbell always said, just because it didn't happen doesn't mean it's not true. And what that basically means is these stories that are passed down from generation to generation sometimes get embellished, sometimes they're not even tethered to real-world events, and yet we can get immense amounts of truth and insight from these stories. So whatever angle you read this book from, know that you can get something from these stories if you just ask yourself, how does that relate to what's happening inside of me right now as I practice yoga? And I think you will find it much easier to read. So the book is Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. It is, I think, a must-read certainly for every yoga teacher and every serious yoga student out there. Whether or not you like every facet of it, I do not know, but I do know it is a really good book to have under your belt, to have on your bookshelf, and just if for no other reason than you will understand how we got to where we are today as modern yogis. Again, if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and share. It helps me out, and it will help you find future content that I release. You can visit my website, which is darrenmain.com, to learn more about me and my books and other teaching. And while you're there, I have a free meditation course that you can sign up for. It's a 5-day course, and you will get a different video each day. And by the end of that, you will be an expert meditator, or at least not struggling with it as much as you might be now. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Namaste.